fans and YouTubers. It's that VA Dallas Cowboy fan coming back at you. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting down below. I make these videos for me and you, and they're a little therapeutic, you know. I know I haven't been on for a while, but I wanted to give everybody time to digest the schedule, you know, because I know schedule night, a lot of guys, Cowboys wise, was live streaming, and I'm sure you wanted to know their opinions on what our record could be and how they felt about it. So now that we've had time to, you know, digest, hear what other YouTubers are discussing about it, hear what the analysts have said, it's now time for me to go through our schedule. And also some other notes, like what Kirk Cousins told Dak Prescott when they met last year in the season, and what he told him about the franchise tag, when there was a possibility. Also going to talk about Chris Richard and some of the things coming out about him and his coaching techniques. We're going to talk about Stephen Jones and why he's putting our business out in public, and possibly Alden Smith and Randy Gregory reinstatements. All right, we're going to pick these things off one by one. So this is going to be a pretty long video, so buckle yourselves in and enjoy. So first off, the main takeaway from Kirk Cousins is that he told Dak, whatever happens, don't be afraid of the tag. It could be your friend, and you can use it to your advantage. Now, just that saying alone, Kirk Cousins knew what he was doing when he accepted those franchise tags from Washington those years back. I think the writing was on the wall, because he knew how Bruce Allen ran business, and that if they feel he wasn't the quarterback of the future, they were not going to pay him what he thought his market value was. So he was just going to take his ball and go home with it anytime that the Redskins did not give him a franchise tag offer. So that's exactly how he played it, and it worked well for him. He got that $80-something million guarantee from Minnesota, and he's been there ever since. And that was the way, one of the ways to do a franchise tag right. Le'Veon Bell, he sat out for a year. He still didn't set the market like he thought he was, but look at his position. He's running back. Everybody thought, well, anybody could do his job. Why should he get paid top dollar, you know? So he decided to sit out a year, get himself healthy mentally and physically, and try again. He didn't land the landmark price tag he wanted, but still, you know, he came away okay. His production hasn't been as well, but that was to be expected. Hold on one second. All right, where was I? Oh yeah, Kirk Cousins. We've had other players sit out until, you know, training camp or the start of regular season before they started signing their franchise tag. Some sit around and do the July 15 deadline. Some are rescinded, and some, they make a deal. It's just what it is. It's business, as they keep telling us. As far as it goes, people are all over the place with it. They said the signing of Andy Dalton meant Dak's time is over. You know, don't believe that. Dak is not going out in public and putting the words out there like that, unlike Stephen Jones, who I'm going to talk about later. But having Kirk Cousins give Dak advice is smart. Dak has sought people's advice when, you know, things come up, and other players, especially quarterbacks, have experience, and he'll talk to them. He's talked to Romo, he's talked to Mark Sanchez, he's talked to Aaron Rodgers about Mike McCarthy. He's talked to Kirk Cousins. I mean, he'll do anything to benefit himself and better the team around him. So, I mean, those are the attributes they say he's a leader for, and yet He's not getting paid for it right now. But it's nothing to panic about. Cowboy fans who want to hate on Dak, just hate on Dak. I mean, I'm not sure where it's coming from. If you're a Cowboy fan, why are you even worrying about what one player is doing? You should be a Dallas Cowboy fan. He should be about the team, not worrying about one player, because one player is not giving us, Super Bowl success, especially this day and age. So I don't know what the hate for Dak is. Can he be inaccurate? Sure. Can he do boneheaded moves? Sure. But, who hasn't? I mean, I was just watching 2016, the week 4 game against Chicago. No. I think it was week 5 against San Francisco. And, we talk about our special teams being bad. And in that game, we punted early, and I think early second quarter. And if you saw, the way the gunners and everybody was lined up was, if you're looking at this video like me, they were all lined up over here. There was nothing but green grass on this side of the field. Now, as a special teams coordinator, and you knew you needed 12 yards for the first down, if you got a guy like Chris Jones, who back then was pretty athletic, still is, kind of, if he's not hurt, you'd have told him, kick away if, you got no shot. But if you got a shot and you want to take it, go for it. I'm not going to hold you back if you want to be the man, and go for it. And I just thought, thinking back as a coach, why wouldn't you have given him that kind of option when the game was close at that time? I would have told him, if you see an open lane, go. It doesn't have to be a trick play or anything. Just know in your mind that it's a possibility. It could happen that one side of the field is completely empty, and you could have at least ran for 20 easily, because the gunner and the defense was down the field, not even looking back at the punter. So the only guy who was actually going to look at your way was the kick returner, the punt returner. And the whole side of the field, this side, was just all the guys. Both teams all lined up over here. He had nothing on this side of the field. If anybody wants to go back and take a look at that, that's just something I picked up on some things. As usual, looking back, I've seen bad coaching decisions from offense, defense. I mean, you could see why we were stuck in neutral all these years, unfortunately. I'll talk about that some other time. But, yeah, basically the bottom line is Kirk Cousins says, let this tag thing work for you. Don't worry about it. Let your agent handle it. You've given them a number. They've given you a number. By the time July 15th comes around, somebody's going to cave, and I doubt it'll be you. As many times as they talked about not setting markets, and then they set markets. So, that's that. Speaking of Stephen Jones, this guy comes out, and his quotes out of a, whole paragraphs full of talk and, business talk and run around, was that we've tried to pay Dak and he has to accept what we want to pay him. Now, if I'm hearing that correctly, you are basically threatening me. I mean, I may be reading it wrong, but you coming out and saying that you've tried to pay him. Yes, we know how much, it's been leaked, how much you've been trying to pay him, and we know how much the franchise tag is worth, and you're trying to stick to a number right around there, and you're telling him he has to accept what we want to pay him. No, he doesn't. He really doesn't. I mean, as a leader and a man, if it came down to it, yes, he'll probably take it and play on the franchise tag, but, thinking to yourself, you're like, well, if y'all weren't going to pay me in 2019, you're not paying me in 2020. why would I think you're going to pay me in 2021 if I put up another MVP type year? I mean, anything less than the Super Bowl, you'll probably still dick me around next offseason about paying me. So what's my incentive of staying with this team? Hence the whole Kirk Cousins thing. He could be like, next year you tag me again, it's going to be, 120% of the tag before? So you're basically paying him all that money, guaranteed, when if you just gave him a contract with this much, you could have pushed some of these numbers down the line. But for some reason, you guys ain't doing that. Now, I get it. He's not Romo, because Romo took all those deals, and he took those deals at 6-year increments. So that made y'all happy as pie because, every time it came up to signing somebody, you kept pushing back his money. Converting it to signing bonuses and, kicking it back. And what it'd do is bite you in the butt down the line. Because, like Romo, he didn't finish his third contract. Because he got his rookie contract, his second contract, and then the $100 million contract. But every 6 years, you keep kicking that money down the can, it's going to start biting you. Especially if you don't finish your career out there. If you get cut or something, you're on the hook for that dead money. So, y'all loved it when Romo decided to do that, but that's not Dak. Dak says, I want to go 4 years, get more money then, and then sign a longer deal kind of thing to finish out my career. I don't want, he's basically double dipping like they said. But you think about that. Romo played out a rookie deal as an undrafted free agent. That was 4 years. Then you gave him an extension in 2007, 2008 for $66 million, and that was a 6-year deal. And 2013, you gave him that $100 million for another 6-year extension. So you're calculating almost 20 years of service for one guy, and he's not Tom Brady. Tom Brady's like the only quarterback we know that's standing in the pocket like a statue and never gets touched because they won't allow it, the referees. But it's neither here nor there. I'm not talking about officiating, which has been horrible. But you think, quarterbacks these days, they want to monetize themselves and bank on themselves instead of hanging around one organization for 20 years if you make it that long as in a career. Maybe you want to take your ball and go home, due to injuries or something like Andrew Luck. Maybe you just don't want to do it anymore. So he wants to make as much bank now while he can instead of pushing stuff down. And then when you're thinking about it, Steven, if he did decide to just call it quits, y'all be on the hook for this money. So don't sit here and be acting like this is a wise decision because you've already came out and said you want a deal done for him and the organization. But it doesn't seem like you do because you keep coming out in public and you and your daddy been saying all the nice stuff. He's a leader, this, that, and the other, but he needs to take the money we're going to give him. That doesn't sound like you guys being fair here. It sounds like you're putting our business out in the streets again, and you're trying to put it on him like it's his fault. Like he's greedy or something. It's not greed. It's just that he wants to do like a smart business person would. How's that greed? You doing it too. By trying to make it 5 years of pushing stuff down the can later. It's business acumen. So, ain't no point of getting mad at Dak for that. Okay? Alright. Done with that. Okay? So, on to the main event. This is what y'all came here for. The schedule. Now, I've looked at the games, I've looked at the schedules, but I haven't gave a prediction yet. I haven't even thought about a record. But we know, all you haters, it's not going to be 0-16. And as much as a diehard fan as we are, it's not going to be 16-0. So, from that, you're going to be right here with me as I go down the schedule and go game by game and give you my prediction. I don't have a pen on me. I think I do. All right. I'll be back. I got to get a pen. All right, I have returned. Okay. Got my pen. Hope it works. All right. Now, I have read that we are favored in about 11 out of 16 games. Now, let's see if I agree with that. Just glancing over it, I can almost guarantee 3 losses. Probably going to split with Philly. Probably going to lose to Baltimore. And probably going to lose to Seattle. Those are like right off the bat, I don't think we'll win, but, I'm going to see when we get to it. See what happens. So, let's start with week 1. We'll have the Sunday night game against the LA Rams opening their new stadium. Well, we did beat them last year, but that was a whole different team. And you'd think the year before that, they crushed us in the playoffs. So, mainly difference is no Brandon Cooks, no Todd Gurley. They've lost some pieces. They've re-upped a little bit in the draft of free agency. But compared to our draft, if they're playing then, and the talent we already have, and it's almost identical to last year's, except we'll be learning a whole new system, offense and defense. I'd say we probably win, because we Cowboys fans do travel pretty well, if they allow fans to the games by then. I'd say it's probably a win, because not too much is going to be different from last year as far as we go. New defensive scheme, but we beat you with the bad defense. So having a better one with hopefully a whole new philosophy of being aggressive will help us. All right. Week 2, we're going to be at home against Atlanta. Atlanta's done some things that they've tried to improve on. But I don't count them as being, world beaters still. I don't want to say Matt Ryan's overrated, but he's had Julio Jones for a lot of years. But as you've seen in some pressure situations, even though it doesn't get talked about, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones do not come through. Look at their playoff games. Aside from that Super Bowl run, every time they make the playoffs, you can see them getting down to red zone, and they're pretty much tossing it up 4 straight times to Julio, and he's never coming down with it. And, that's not reliable, for a winning formula. They completely abandon their run game sometimes, and it's noticeable. So, I think I'll take it. It's a game at home. I think we'll win that one. So right now, we'll be 2-0, heading out to Seattle. Again, this is Russell Wilson. A little slight note that I forgot to talk about Stephen Jones. He brought up analytics and brought up that quarterback making over, I think, 10% of the team's salary cap has never won a Super Bowl except for Steve Young in '94. And you think Russell Wilson and Pat Mahomes have both won Super Bowls, but they were on their rookie contracts. I do believe Ben Roethlisberger was on his rookie contract when he won a Super Bowl as well. But what does that equate to? They get paid after they win those Super Bowls too, don't they? Nobody's complaining about them when they've already won one. So I guess that's the only difference. You got to win a Super Bowl on your rookie contract, and nobody's going to ever discuss how much you make again. But you look at who was running the team. If the guy couldn't win with Tony Romo, an experienced guy, what was he going to do with a rookie? Garrett does not develop quarterbacks. That's why I'm not giving him much of a chance in New York. But anyway, Seattle, Russ, their RPO game, their passing attack, their pretty good defense. So I think it'd be evenly matched if there's no fans there. You wouldn't have that mystique of the crowd noise messing you up. But until we know definitively if there will be crowds in the stands for this upcoming season or not. I'm going to take that as the loss. So now we're in the month of October, week 4 against Cleveland at home. Cleveland. A lot of people like to say they're on the coming up, but they haven't shown us anything. And now you got a new head coach. You got some new players, but it's still the same old team. They're liable to botch stuff. So I'm going to call that a win at home. All right. Next week, we have our second home game against the New York Giants. It's the New York Giants. Unless they show anything new in the first 4 weeks that Jason Garrett has changed anything, I do believe it's going to be the same old, no matter which team he goes to be a head coach, offensive coordinator, anything. Their defense is probably going to be better, but their offense, I wouldn't say they're going to be as great as we can. They're not going to be on par with us. So if it had to be a shootout, I'd take us in a shootout, especially at home. So I'll call that a win. All right. Next, we have our last home game before we go on the road. It's a Monday night contest against Arizona at home. So, you got Arizona, Kyler Murray, and D-Hop. Sorry. Last we checked with D-Hop in Houston, he whooped our butts. So, I wouldn't be too scared of Arizona, but you never know what they could come out with. They could be the new Houston, especially with D-Hop on the roster, and a pretty young and mobile quarterback. If he can get the ball out to D-Hop, it'd be just like Dak getting the ball out to CeeDee Lamb. And the yards after catch will kill us, especially if we haven't learned anything from the last time we played against D-Hop, tackling. So, I'd just say this home game, we'll probably be, getting into our groove. I'd say that's a win in prime time. All right, on the road against the Washington Redskins. Now, this is in October. Usually Mark Holmes will throw a tailgate or something. Everybody will be there. And you're looking at a new coach, new defensive philosophy, the number 2 overall pick in Chase Young. If they're all healthy, I think that'll be a pretty good defense. Their line is stout. Their linebackers are stout. Thing is, if we have an offensive line that can stick together and figure out how to run block and pass block without giving up pressure, I don't think they'll be able to get to Dak. I think we can run away with that. It's going to be all on, what's their boy? God, Dwayne Haskins. It's probably going to be on Haskins or Kyle Allen, depending on who's going to be quarterbacking by then. And I'm not really sure what their running back situation will be. They drafted more running backs. They drafted tight ends. You never know who's going to be healthy by then. I know health was a major factor in them last year. Tight ends were getting hurt. Running backs were getting hurt. Their offensive line has been going down a lot over the years. Maybe it's that training staff that got fired out there. Maybe that was a cause. But I don't think they're ready. Maybe some years down the line, once Dwayne gets it, it'll be, more formidable. But I don't think they'll take this one. So we'll probably win there. So you're looking at almost halfway through the season and we only have one loss. That's just my opinion. And here's the one in Philly, Sunday Night Football, November 1st. Man, well, It's going to come down to the same thing I talked about the Redskins, health. If they are healthy, they got a shot. If they are not healthy and we figure out, you know, how we're going to roll on offense and defense and we get in a groove and we're pretty healthy like we were last year but lost to the backups in Philly, it'll be a pretty hard-fought game. Carson Wentz is Carson Wentz. He's going to put it out on the line. I mean, you know, everybody can hate him as a Cowboy fan. You can hate the organization, but you can't really hate the player. Like I said, don't hate the player, hate the game. Carson Wentz will try and take that game and put it on his back and get it out to Rager, Ertz, Goddard, Deshaun Jackson if he's playing, Alshon Jeffrey if he's going to be playing, and those litany of running backs they got that can just hurt you. That's their offense. Like they said, they got Darius Slay, but even if you take Coop out, that still leaves C.D. Lamb and Michael Gallup, Zeke and Jarwin, and Prescott's legs. So it's going to be a pretty big slugfest. I want to say that Philly could take it at home because they darn sure love to kill us at home. And it's prime time. They'll have the big lights on them. They're going to want to show the world that they are the team to beat, not us, you know. Because there's a lot on the line in this game. Not for me. For Michael Anthony Fitness and Mark Holmes. Joe Boo is on the line. And Michael Anthony Fitness's title belt against Philly 500. Can't pick tie. I don't want to say a tie. Oh my God. I think no fans. It'll be an even playing ground, really. Empty stadium. Probably marginal staff and, you know, TV crew. And we just haven't seen, you know, training camp or OTAs or anything to really know what can happen. Because for all we know, somebody's going to say, hey, facilities are open, let's get some OTAs in, and somebody could hurt themselves on the first day. You never can tell. I think we'll probably win this one. I think Dallas is out to prove something this year. And they're going to want that in prime time. So, there's that. All right. Back home against Pittsburgh. If Roethlisberger is playing, they'll be pretty formidable. They got Minka on the defense. They got T.J. Watt. These games always go down to the wire, but the last time we played them in 2016, they had, you know, they had their boy Le'Veon Bell and Knucklehead, Antonio Brown. And that game came down to the wire. They've improved since then, but I don't think Juju and James Conner is good enough to take us. So, I want to say at home it's us. All right, heading into our bye week. Get healthy, hopefully. We travel to Minnesota in week 11. That one will probably be a loss. Minnesota's pretty much been close, if not had our number, the last couple times we've played them. I don't know what it is. At home or away, they seem to be, they seem to just get us. Maybe it's the Mike Zimmer effect. You know, he knows us pretty well. At home, Thanksgiving, I'll call that a win. It's Washington. Thursday night football against Baltimore in Baltimore. Loss. Need I say more? MVP Lamar Jackson, I mean, they steamrolled through the AFC last year. You know, they had some hiccups, especially when they got to the playoffs, but, you know, in regular season, dare you to stop them, basically. After that, we traveled to Cincinnati. That one, Joe Burrow, A.J. Green, I'll call that a win. Joe Burrow's going to have most of the season to figure things out by then, but I still don't think he'll be ready. Then we got Sunday Night Football at home against the 49ers. That's going to be a big one. That's going to be, you know, another one of those, are we ready yet? Are we the team to come in and represent the NFC? I don't know. I think San Fran might have us because they'll definitely be locked in and have, you know, everything running by then. We'll still be, you know, the young new team with the new head coach and everything. I still think San Francisco going into that game already know what they're doing. I'll probably win that one, so, you know, that'll be a loss, and that's at home. The next week we have Philadelphia. Like I said, more than likely they'll split, so they'll probably beat us at home. They'll probably rub our face in it and all that. And we finish out the season going to New York. Another win. See previous notes. All right. So, after tallying, we have $11-5. Read it and weep. Do you think we're 11-5? Are we 12-4? 13-3? 10-6? I've heard pretty much a lot of people have come around those numbers all together, and you know they're not biased. There's analytical thinking. You're really thinking about what's going on, and you know, until we actually see some action and see that maybe something's different, all we can go on is last year's team with a couple of additions, and take the stuff we had before and see how that worked. But it's funny. I mean, you look at our 2016. This is almost the same schedule in 2016. Almost. I have to look it up, but yeah, it's almost the same exact schedule we had in 2016 when we played. But that's the schedule. 11-5. Share your thoughts. Those are mine. And if you didn't know, we'll have 5 preseason games. If it happens, the Hall of Fame game will be against Pittsburgh, so we'll get an early look at them. Excuse me, including their backups. Second game will be against the Chargers in LA, so we'll be opening up SoFi Stadium twice, basically. We'll have at home, we'll have Baltimore, so we'll get an early look at them as well. We'll have another game at home against Kansas City. You never know, that could be a Super Bowl preview. It cannot be, but we'll get to measure, you know, where we are. That's usually the dress rehearsal game, they claim. And our last game will be away at Houston for the Governor's Cup. So that's our schedule, preseason and regular season. Now, last 2 bits of talking points. Alden Smith has already met with Roger Goodell in New York. Apparently, he went and met him in person, and now he's just waiting for Goodell to get back to him and see if he's going to be reinstated or not. And now it's the long game. To believe it's 60 days that Goodell has to render a decision. So we'll see in 2 months if training camp happens. He'll more than likely get to be there because he should have his verdict in by then. Randy Gregory, the word is that he has not met with Goodell, and we don't really know where he is along in the process. He's filed the papers, but we haven't heard anything since then. So he's that big question mark. And Even on my notes, I put down a question mark. Next, and lastly, coaching. We've talked about it. We put a lot of blame on the offense. Jason Garrett and Marinelli. Chris Richard has gotten some of the heat. And now we see why. There was a radio show out there, and George Ialoka was on the radio show, the podcast, and he spent that brief preseason with the Cowboys in 2019 before he was cut. And he talked about, his experience with it. And he said, basically, he's been in the league for a while. So when he went out there and it was practice, and, we do a lot of cover 3. And he thought, to himself, as a corner or safety, he had come up in the box, disguise the coverage, because you can't always let the offense know what you're doing in coverage. So he thought, he'd sneak up to the line, make it look like it's something when it wasn't. And, Chris Richard took him over to the side and was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm coming up in the box. I'm trying to disguise what we're doing out here." And he said, "Why? What are you doing that for?" He said, "Because we should be disguising the defense so the offense doesn't know what we're doing." And he told him, "Don't do that." He said, "No, be in the position I told you to be in. Don't sneak up, don't move, don't do anything different than what I tell you." Basically, and Iloka was like, "So you want them to know we're in cover 3. I swear, I was like, "Are you serious?" I mean, I heard some things. Kayvon Frazier, he did a podcast a while back, and he basically said the exact same thing, that Chris Richard, basically, he didn't help them improve on technique or anything. He basically told them his way of playing, and that was it. If you tried to change anything, he wasn't having it. I mean, you're trying to help the team out. You're trying to disguise the defense so they don't always know you're running cover 3, but your coach tells you no. You go back and show them that you're running cover 3, and you just let them do what they do. Now, the article came out from, I think, Blogging with the Boys, and they were like, that makes no sense, and they were saying that Chris Richard was taking on the Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett infected the coaches, that they got hard set in their ways and they were not prone to change anything. And that's what it started looking like with the Chris Richard and his defense. Same thing with Marinelli and the defensive line. They always stunt. When you brought a blitz, it was so rare that people actually picked up on it, and our defense was so clueless when we did it that they never covered people. And that's how they seemed to score every time we blitz. Because we're like dumbfounded that we did something different. Like, that's stupid. And it's not just him or Kayvon Frazier. A defensive backs trainer named Clay Mack called into a podcast, and he was telling them about the kick step technique. And he was trying to show them the kick step, because he's worked with Jordan Lewis and Cheeto and some of the other DBs throughout the years. He's known these guys. And he got to our guys, and he's like trying to teach them a new technique for when you're playing press man. And the DBs, they told him, "Nah, we can't do that." And he said, "Why can't you do that?" He said, "Chris Richard showed us one technique when we play press man, and he doesn't want us to deviate from that." And he said, "Are you serious? So your coach is telling you to do one technique when playing press man, and if you get beat with it, he's not going to teach you another move. You're just stuck with it. And if the opposing offense learns how to beat you in that one tech, you're just SOL. You just figure it out." And they were like, so basically, Chris Richard was stuck in his ways since Seattle, and that's probably why Seattle got rid of him, because they could see that maybe it was the coaching that was bad, not the players. Because once you saw the players start leaving Seattle, you saw how the defense kind of started breaking down. So you just kind of wondered, well, apparently it was the talent that made Chris Richard's defenses look good, not the other way around. It was not his coaching that made them look good. And it's starting to show. And, I just found that hilarious that Jason Garrett and his way of thinking seems to have seeped into every member of his coaching staff, to where they're so hard on to their ways and never get out of it. And, the guy's teaching you the wrong techniques to play, and if you deviate from that, you're in the doghouse. That's just like when Amari Cooper told Dak in that Philly game, yo, I'm just going to go out, throw it up. And Dak is like, nah, we can't deviate from the offense that Scott Linehan's calling. And he's like, why? They're sitting on our routes. They know what we're doing. If we do something different, I got these guys. And they did. They won. But Amari ended up in the doghouse because he deviated from the set ways that were there. And it's just ridiculous that whole regime seemed to be that way. That whenever they went against the grain, they were in the doghouse. So when you say it's not coaching, it's the players, you're full of it. It's not always the players. A lot of times it can be the schemes they have. It can be the coaching that they have. And everybody praised Sean McVay, thinking he was a genius when he came in and turned around the Rams. But now he's looking pretty average when he doesn't have the talent around, doesn't he? We'll find out about Bill Belichick this year, if it was Tom Brady or Belichick this whole time. But you see, it's not always the player. That's why you can't get mad at that. It's not always the players that we have that make us look bad. It's a lot of it can be both ways, and it could be more coaching too. If your coaching is bad and not hoping the players get into the positions they need to succeed, then what's the point? You're going to lose. You're going to be stuck in mediocrity, and that's exactly where we were. But that's my opinion. You have yours. I hope to hear them. I know this video went way long, but I wanted to get all that out because all this stuff has been going on during the week, and I've been on vacation, and I just wanted to get it out in one long video. So if anything else happens, I won't be backlogged. We're trying to give y'all my opinions. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a fun, safe Mother's Day. Have a safe day. Enjoy your family. Y'all take care. Stay safe. VA Dallas Cowboy fan.